Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna K1260 Power Cutter. The customer complaint is that it won't start. So, as with all our repairs, the first thing we're going to do is look in the fuel tank. A lot of times a no start issue can be narrowed down just to what's going on in there. It could be water in the fuel. It could be a fuel filter that's not attached to the fuel line anymore. Could be the quality of the fuel. Did you ever go on a fishing trip and think you had the wrong bait? Look at this guy. Got his pole, but he ain't even dangling a worm. Can't seem to catch what he's looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this fuel out of the tank. I want you to take a look at the fuel that's in the tank, in that funnel right now. It's from my last repair. It looks good. We're going to pull the fuel out of this tank and just add it to that. I know there wasn't any water in that original fuel. But look at the color of this stuff coming out of here. I'm not talking about what looks like clear fuel right out of the pump. I'm talking about what's left in the funnel. Look how dark it is. And I just like to add that this snap-on transfer pump, they don't recommend transferring flammable liquids. So I'm not telling you to use it on fuel. But look at that stuff. It's black. What is that? I don't even know. It's crazy. Let's get a clean jar. And because water settles to the bottom of fuel, we're just going to pull the plunger on this funnel and just tap a little bit of fuel into that jar. And if there's water in it, it'll end up in the jar. Nah, it looks good. There's no water in there. The quality of the fuel is still questionable because I don't remember the last time I saw black fuel come out of a piece of equipment. So looking inside the tank, I mean, there's no debris or residue or anything that would have made that fuel black. And when you look at the filter, I mean, it looks like this saw gets maintained. That filter is a lot of times the source of bogging or lack of power issues, but this one looks like it's been serviced regularly. I'm going to put 10 pounds of pressure on this fuel line and see if the line is good and the carburetor's tight. I used my Mightyvac MV8500 to pump it up to 10 pounds, and it looks like it's holding. I'm going to put that filter right back on there. That silver piece is a weight, and that helps hold the filter down in the bottom of the fuel tank. It also doubles as a clamp to hold that hose on the filter. Alright, we'll just temporarily put that cap back on there. So he's complaining it won't start. You know, this is kind of a bread and butter kind of situation. I think if you talk to a lot of techs that work on this kind of equipment every day, you'll find that, you know, not all the repairs that come through are like glamorous or YouTube worthy kind of shocker type repairs or whatever you want to say. A lot of times it's just some basic stuff and even just educating the customer. Now, this filter looks great. This whole saw looks great. You know, I hate working on concrete saws because they're so dirty. But look at this thing. It's not a new saw by any means. But it's been well maintained, kept clean. You know, I'm still not a big fan of that fuel. But so far the rest of it looks pretty good. Let's pull the spark plug out and look at the condition of the piston and cylinder. First thing I notice is that the spark plug is wet. Well, if he was trying to start it and he couldn't get it started and the spark plug's wet, it's most likely flooded. Now, is it flooded because of a carburetor issue? Is it flooded because it doesn't have any spark? Is it flooded because of a fuel quality issue? Is it flooded because of a supermassive air leak or something like that? Probably not the air leak. Let's just see if it's got spark. Now, this spark tester isn't really designed to work this way. Usually you would connect it to a spark plug that's threaded into the cylinder. I just want to see, I'm looking for the presence of spark. And I don't know if you can see that on the video or not, but it did have spark. I set it to jump a 6mm gap, and it did. So just for giggles, we're going to put a fresh spark plug in here. Just because the other one looks like it's been around for a while. And it was wet. And I never did test the plug itself to see if it sparked. So I'm just putting a new one in. We'll tighten this one down, get that washer crushed, put the wire back on. Alright, what do we got now? We've looked in the fuel tank. We like the filter. We replaced the spark plug. We like the condition of the piston and cylinder. And we're just kind of thinking about this one right now. Why did I take that gas cap off of there? Not sure. Thinking about what I want to do next. I think I'm going to take a look at the air gap between the ignition coil and the flywheel. The factory setting would be 0.3 millimeters. For a lot of people, that means a business card. Everything looks good underneath here. I mean, there's the flywheel's tight. There's no excessive play. It's clean. I'm going to take my gap gauge and I'm going to put it between the magnet of the flywheel and the laminations on the ignition coil. And there's actually two sets of laminations on there, so I'm checking it in both spots. And it looks good. The coil's tight. It's gapped properly. And I saw a spark at the plug. So I'm happy with all of that. The kill wire was in place. I'm just loving how clean that this saw is, because it's not that new, but it's been well maintained. Maybe it's lightly used, I don't know. But even if it's lightly used, you use it once, it's going to be dirtier than this. You're going to find dust in it. Even if you're not cutting concrete, that might be a metal cutting blade that he's got in there. And they tend to stay cleaner when you're cutting metal. I don't know. But I'm going to put some fresh fuel in here and I'm going to try and start it. And it's going to start. And it's going to smoke very heavy. I won't run it very long because I see the garage door is closed. But the point I want to make is that it was just flooded. And I don't see any reason why it would have been flooded. I'll start it, run it, let it sit overnight, and try and start it again the next day. And if it starts up and runs fine, then I'll call the customer and tell them to come pick it up. If it doesn't, then I'll readdress that problem. Is it the quality of that fuel? It just didn't want to burn? I don't know. So that's what I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna K1260 that had some bad fuel in it. Thanks for watching. Later.